Mame enko na me ne doctor enim komo na omayen update so far. Dr. Martin, good morning. Hello, Dr. Martin, good morning. Hello. I think so sound no. Enshada mwame papa. Enti ye be check area say doctor ebeti yen kan. Good morning, doctor. Hello.
Sorry?
Good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Yourself?
I am great this morning and I'm glad to be awake.
All right. Thank God for your life. Doctor, what led to the demonstration yesterday?
The demonstrations have been coming for a while because the government is adamant that it wants to implement some very unfavorable taxation measures to generate revenue for purposes of its expenditure. And some of the measures that are in there are really anti-people, anti-development, anti-property, and so on. For example, the conversion of all land within near the villages as part of leasehold means that the government wants to take power over the renewal of leases and also control of land. And other things such as putting in there a charge on youth who are 25 years to pay tax 300 shillings in order for them to access services. Which services, they're not telling us which ones. So there is very, very unfavorable conditions in the finance bill, which has been passed by Parliament now pending the signature of the President. And that's what is leading the younger people to protest.
All right, so it means the government is trying to take over some lands that belongs to the citizens.
Yes, it is trying to bring measures that have negative effects. For example, if you are going to transfer your land upon succession, it's demanding to take 30% of the inheritance that you leave behind, which means that they are taxing property as it passes from the original owners to now their families at 30%, and that is a disincentive for many people. Therefore, it's something that is being resisted. Generally, this government is not listening to people. It is intransigent. It is all about bravado. And people are saying, wait a minute, we are the bosses. Why are you not listening to us?
All right. Doctor, you are talking about a tax on children. Can you clarify that one for me?
The point is, they are saying that if you are in a family and you are 25 years old and you are still living within your father or within your parents' home, then you should be able to pay tax even though you're living with your parents. And the young people are saying, we have no jobs, and why would you want us to pay tax just for living with our parents? That's the problem.
Okay, so if the person is 25 years and still living with the parents, the person should be able to pay tax. Is that what the government is saying?
He's saying, no matter whether you have a job or not. So they are not looking at your ability. They are expecting you to pay from your parents' resources. That's not right. I mean, if you are looking at this from a progressive society where you pay such a tax and you access services such as health, you access services such as education, there's no problem. But what are the youth going to pay the tax for? That's the question.
Okay, so far, these are the two taxes that a citizen saw that is nuisance, and they demonstrated on it yesterday.
The example I've given is just one or two, but
okay, so this is just an example.
The other thing is that the government is increasing taxes and increasing expenditure from 3.5 trillion to 4.0 trillion. And the question is, what is the government spending its money on? There are costs such as travel, there are costs such as reimbursements and renovations in the president's office, in the deputy president's office. There are costs such as the travel by members of parliament, their committees, and so on. And people are asking, why can't you pay doctors? Why can't you pay for health services and education services? Why are you spending this kind of money? In other words, the kind of revenue that's being asked for and the kind of activities being planned for are inconsistent with service delivery. And so people are raising those issues.
All right. Okay, so what happened to the violence? How did it trigger? What happened? What led to the violence when the demonstration was going on?
The violence was started by the government because the police were using live ammunition against young people who had no ammunition. So they are shooting them, they are killing them, and that just turned tragic, both in terms of loss of life and also destruction. Remember that after that, they were very emboldened. They went and invaded parliament and disrupted processes, though already members of parliament had finished voting, so they ran away. They invaded the county governor's office and actually put it on fire. So basically, the security apparatus visited violence on non-violent people who then reacted out of that. There is no reason whatsoever for people who are protesting peacefully to be visited with live ammunition.
All right, so what is the president saying this morning? William Ruto, what is he saying?
He's not remorseful. He is not even sympathetic to those who have lost life. He is chest thumping, and he's saying how the government is going to deal ruthlessly with the people. He's saying what happened was treason, and therefore he's ordering the military and everybody else to come out. And the young people are saying they are not relenting. So really, you're having violence begetting violence, and you're having pride begetting pride. And so what we are going to see, even as this week progresses, is more chaos.
So what happened at the parliament when the demonstrators went there?
You see, parliament was in session when the demonstrations were happening. I remember the entire bit about this demonstration is Occupy Parliament. That's the theme. So the intention of the demonstrators was to take over and occupy Parliament. And the reason is so that they can stop Parliament from debating and from passing the bill.
Okay.
So the target was always to invade Parliament, which they succeeded, only that the members of Parliament had finished the debate and passed the bill rather hurriedly within 2 hours. That said, basically what you're saying is that as long as this war is still on, or this fight is still on, then the members of the public and the members of parliament are actually having a hard time. Remember, some of the images you might not have seen is that some of these members of parliament were being targeted. Their rural homes were being targeted. Their assets were being targeted. Their businesses were being targeted, and they were hit, and some were destroyed, some were actually vandalized. So basically, this is larger than just occupying parliament, the institution here.
All right. Doctor, you've been in the political space for a while. So far, what has the government done when it comes to unemployment issues in Kenya?
I don't think this government is listening to anybody. It's not even listening to itself. It's so full of itself. It is so full of pride that it thinks that it's the best thing that Kenyans deserve. And for that reason, it is not doing anything to make Kenyans understand. They want to tax Kenyans at all costs. The effect of it is that the level of anger, the level of annoyance that is now in the air is going not to reduce, but to just increase. So they are doing nothing to help it come down.
All right. What is the current situation this morning?
This morning is calm. The young people have regrouped. Of course, we have a lot of people hurt and injured and are in the hospitals, and it's a very sad thing. But tomorrow, the young people have said they are coming back again on the streets, and that is going to be again yet another battle. The Kenya government has ordered the military apparatus or military personnel to come and join the National Police Service. Ironically, they are sending the police who cannot control the crowds in Nairobi. They are sending those police to Haiti, and here they cannot manage even to control crowds here. So they must be joking.
All right. So if I get you correctly, it means Parliament was in session debating those taxes so that they can pass them. So you can confirm to me that it's not yet passed, but it's on the floor of Parliament being debated.
There's a bit of noise in the background. I can't hear you well.
I was trying to ask that the taxes that has generated this demonstration leading to violence is not yet passed by Parliament, but it's on the floor of Parliament being debated, right?
Yes, yes.
All right. So has it suspended the debate?
No, they were able to conclude the debate yesterday, 2 hours before, or rather in 2 hours, but 30 minutes into their conclusion, that's when Parliament was invaded and the proceedings disrupted. But they have managed to pass the to pass the bill.
They've passed it.
The Parliament has passed the bill. Now it's pending the president's signature, which we believe he'll append his hand on. And that discussion and that struggle will continue outside Parliament now. Remember, they are threatening to occupy State House.
So based on what you are saying, Doug, it means the protesting, the demonstration is not yet over. And they are not stopping anytime soon.
We are not going to see this. You see, the thing is that if government is not listening to people, it means that the people will continue pressing until that time when the government comes down to listen to them. So for now, we cannot see the end of this being after the passage of the bill. As soon as the president ascends into this, we will have another battle, whether on the streets or whether in the courts. People will go to court to actually protest some of the provisions that are in that law.
All right. So far, the military in Kenya, what has been the relationship between them and the president?
What is that one?
What is the relationship between the military and the president in Kenya? Do you foresee a possible coup?
Sorry?
Do you foresee a possible coup? Any attempts?
Well, you see, the coup is about military taking over. Right now, we are talking about civilians telling their government that they have elected that you're doing badly. So if they are doing badly, then it means that you can have the right to recall or have the right to actually ask these current leaders to go home. Now, in terms of a coup, that is a different conversation. It's not a legal conversation. But in terms of people taking back power, either directly or through their representatives, is something that is contemplated in the Kenyan Constitution. The people are sovereign. They can give power directly or they can exercise that power directly. Now, if they exercise that power in a manner that now the president says is unconstitutional, so be it. But then the point is they are saying they are not happy.
All right. Per your history, when it comes to politics and violence related, do you see this as new? Do you see this as strange? Or is one of those things that has been happening?
You see, we have seen demonstrations before in this country. We've seen the level of violence before in this country. What we are seeing is very, very different. In the past, violence was a bit sporadic and rough. This one is targeted. For example, you are a member of parliament, you have a business, and you voted yes to this bill. They are targeting you as a member of parliament. Or you are a governor and you are passing bad laws, they are targeting you. So there's a target here, and they are really public institutions, not private institutions. And if it's a private institution, it has something to do with the member of parliament or somebody who has some responsibility around this. So yes, there is some targeted, and it's unfortunate, of course, but that lives are being lost. But it's something that you can say is being generated as the only other option that people have to express themselves.
Now that the president is not even remorse of what is happening, do you think there can be change?
We don't think this president is capable of listening, not even to himself. He loves talking and he does not even know what he says. And that in that situation, he's going to be deaf, he's going to be blind, and he will find himself in a place that he has not expected, because Kenyans are not about to take more lies. Kenyans are not about to take bad governance. Kenyans are not about to continue suffering under the level of opulence and corruption that we are seeing happening in this country today. They must take a responsibility for their bad governance and the misuse of public resources and the application of unfavorable and oppressive laws.
All right, you just talk about corruption in Kenya. When you take African into consideration, how do you measure the level of corruption in your country?
The basis of this government in Kenya today is corruption. They are not about merit. They are taxing on housing. They are putting the money in bonds rather than build houses. They are taking money from us to build houses. We don't know how those houses will be distributed. We are paying for those houses, despite the fact that we are also being taxed to build the houses. What is corruption other than an institutionalized way of stealing from your own people? So the levels are beyond measure. The levels are institutionalized. The levels are legalized. And this bill, this financial bill in particular, actually entrenches corruption into that law.
That means when it comes to even development or infrastructure, Kenya, you have a problem.
We do, and that's why there's noise. That's why people are on the streets. If we didn't have a problem, we would not be complaining. So there is reason for people to complain. There's reason for people to tell their president that they are his boss. They are his bosses. He is not their boss. He is the servant of Kenyans. He is not the king of Kenyans. He is not the leader of Kenyans. He is people's leader, not himself. So the message to him is very clear. The people are bosses. Give them respect. Listen to them.
Now that you are saying he doesn't even listen to himself, let alone listen to the people of Kenya, what do you think can happen? Are you going to vote against him, or you are going to overthrow him?
No, overthrowing is a bit of a different word. The point is, when people don't like you, it matters not whether you hide under the constitution. Whatever you do, you must listen to the people. Of course, an election will come. One thing that I'm very clear is that the young people who are making all their position known today have not been participating in political elections. But this time round, come 2027, they have the numbers, and when they decide that they are going to vote, we shall see the effect and the impact on the ballot.
All right. Don't you think William Ruto can influence the security agency in Kenya to maybe manipulate the elections?
I have lived long enough in this country for more than 60 years. I have not seen a reason for the military to be asked to come onto the streets to enforce security. This is the first time. We've sent military to Somalia, we've sent military to Sierra Leone, we've sent military to Kosovo and other places. We have never asked our military to come on the streets. This is the first time. A very bad sign from where the president is sitting, a very dictatorial sign, and perhaps the beginning of a more difficult conversation, because the military are not supposed to be on the streets. They're not supposed to be enforcing internal security. They are supposed to be protecting the country from external aggression. That is a violation we have never seen. And that has not been approved by Parliament either, because you cannot deploy the military without parliamentary approval. Though we know this Parliament, anything the president wants done, it will get done. So that is not even the issue. The issue is that it's an unconstitutional move.
All right, how many casualties were recorded yesterday, and you think if it continues, more casualties will be recorded?
We actually might not have a good picture, because those of us who are depending on the news and who are not in hospital facilities or in the mortuary will not know how many dead have been brought in. The fact of the matter is there were several casualties, not just in Nairobi, But in other urban areas such as Mombasa, Kakamega, Kisumu, Kericho, Eldoret. Kisumu was a bit more peaceful, but Eldoret and so on. So yeah, we do have numbers. There might be in excess of what we have seen being reported, but I cannot be able to tell you whether it's 100, whether it's 50 right now, because no one seems to have a good number until maybe we start seeing the reports that are coming out of the hospitals.
All right. So it means yesterday the demonstration was not staged at one place. It cut across parts of the country.
The demonstrations were across the country. In fact, demonstrations are from the strongholds of the president and the deputy president. In the areas where they come from, there in Eldoret, for example, there were serious demonstrations in Kericho. There are serious demonstrations in Nyeri, where the deputy president comes from. There are serious demonstrations in Nairobi, and so on. So basically, what we are saying is that these demonstrations are tribeless. They are not confined to the nation, to the capital. They are across the nation.